Okay, I want you to look at your phone for a second. No, seriously, if you're listening to this on your commute or, at the gym or walking the dog, just pull it out and look at it.
Mhm.
It's this sleek black rectangle of glass and silicon, and it feels cold, right?
Yeah, completely. Perfectly smooth.
Perfectly smooth, it feels artificial, and I think we have this idea that technology is this thing over here, this sort of cold, hard, logical thing.
And nature's over there.
Exactly. Nature is trees, dirt, roots, chaos.
Hmm.
And that they're, enemies, that
Yeah.
they're fundamentally opposed.
That is the standard narrative, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
the digital world is the Matrix, the real world is Zion.
Yes.
You have to unplug to be human. You have to go touch grass to, reset your operating system?
Exactly. But what if that whole binary is just wrong? What if the internet isn't actually new? What if nature invented the internet about, 400 million years ago and we're just now catching up to the beta test?
It sounds like a contradiction. Or,
Mhm.
maybe a stoned philosophy major's thesis paper.
Right.
But when you actually look at the sources we have today and you dig into this stuff, it's actually the blueprint for the future of marketing. It's kind of wild.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are unpacking a really fascinating stack of materials that explores this concept of the Wood Wide Web.
Mm-hmm.
But, and this is the important part, we aren't just doing a biology lesson here. We aren't just talking about fungi for the sake of fungi.
No.
We are looking at a case study of a hypothetical brand, and this brand is called Synapse Roots.
Synapse roots. I mean, even the name right
Mm.
there, it's trying to bridge that gap.
It is.
Synapse, that's the digital, the electrical firing the brain.
Mm.
And then roots, the analog, the dirty, the grounding earth. It's all right there.
It does. And the mission for us today is really specific. We are going to deconstruct a 7-step AI tool stack that takes this concept, this idea of a biological internet, and turns it into a full-blown content empire.
Right. We're talking about how to use the most, quote unquote, artificial tools in history.
Generative AI, voice cloning.
Algorithmic targeting, all of it, to sell the most natural products on earth.
It's this blend that the source calls cybernature.
Cyber nature. And honestly, reading through this whole workflow, it felt like I was reading a manual for a digital cult.
It really does, but a very profitable one
Huh.
and a very, very smart one.
Oh, extremely smart.
Yeah.
Because it taps into something I think we are all feeling on some level. You mentioned looking at your phone earlier.
Yeah.
Why does that feel bad sometimes? Why do we have this low-level anxiety when we stare at screens for 8 hours? It's because it feels disconnected.
Right.
And the hook of Synapse Roots is basically you don't need to disconnect. You just need to log in to the right network.
That is such a strong marketing hook. Log into nature.
It completely reframes the biology. So instead of saying, eat this mushroom because it has vitamins and minerals, they say, eat this mushroom to upload the forest's data directly into your brain.
Which, okay, scientifically, that is a bit of a stretch. I mean, come on. Eating a mushroom isn't literally downloading a file.
Is it, though?
Oh, here we go. I knew you were going to defend this.
No. Think about it seriously for a second. What is data? Really? It's
Well,
just information that changes how a system operates, right?
okay, I guess.
Our ancestors used plants for knowledge. They used them to heighten their senses for hunting, for navigation, for spiritual rituals. Ingestion was a form of data transfer.
I see what you're saying.
You eat the thing,
Mhm.
the chemical compounds interact with your neurotransmitters, and you gain the knowledge of that thing. You see better, you react faster, you feel connected. Synapse Roots is just using Silicon Valley language to describe Stone Age wisdom.
Okay, I guess that's true. It validates the tech bro. It tells him, hey, you like data. Guess what? Nature is just big data.
Precisely. It's meeting the customer exactly where they are. You can't just tell a software engineer to go hug a tree.
No, they'll feel silly. They'll ask for the API.
They'll ask for the API. But if you tell a software engineer that the forest is a decentralized peer-to-peer network with zero latency and incredibly high bandwidth,
Suddenly they're listening. Suddenly it's a system they understand.
and visually, the source material describes this aesthetic that is just, it's so cool. It describes it as green code raining down over a forest floor.
Yeah, it's The Matrix meets National Geographic.
Totally. Just picture that for a second. You've got that iconic digital rain from the Matrix, that cascading green code.
Right, but instead of a cold, dark, oppressive city, it's overlaying a lush, mossy forest. You see these like glowing fiber optic cables.
Yes, pulsing with light.
And as you watch them, they dissolve and turn into a time lapse of roots growing into the soil. It's a perfect visual metaphor.
And it works because it bridges a demographic gap.
Yeah.
It solves a huge problem in marketing for these kinds of products.
What do you mean?
Well, you have the biohackers, right? The guys obsessed with their Oura rings, their continuous glucose monitors, their whole optimization lifestyle.
The quantified self.
The quantified self.
Yeah.
And then you have, for lack of a better term, the hippies. The people who are into grounding, foraging, crystals, and, Mother Earth.
Right. And usually those people, they hate each other.
Or at least they go to very, very different parties. The biohacker wants to live forever using technology. The hippie wants to return to the earth.
It's a fundamental conflict.
Right. But this aesthetic, this cyber nature thing, it unites them. It creates a new category. It says, we use the language of the future to explain the wisdom of the past. It's the visual representation of that whole Wood Wide Web concept.
So, okay, that's the vision, that's the brand, Synapse Roots. But here is where it gets really, really interesting for our purposes today. Because usually to pull off a brand that's that sophisticated, that high concept, you'd need a creative director, a copywriter, a video editor, a social media manager. I mean, you need a whole village of people.
Or a very, very expensive agency that charges you 20 grand a month and takes, 3 months just to get the logo right.
Right. But our sources today outline how to do all of this with just one person and a stack of 7 specific digital tools. It's a workflow. It's a machine.
It really is.
So let's get our hands dirty. Let's actually walk through this process step by step from the spark of the idea all the way to distribution.
Let's do it.
Phase 1 is all about the brain and the radar, the planning stage.
It's the foundation. You absolutely cannot build a structure like this without a blueprint. And the very first tool in this stack is Notion.
Notion. Now, I use Notion. A lot of people listening probably use it, but usually it's just a glorified to-do list, right?
Yeah, buy milk, call mom, draft that email.
Exactly. But in this context, the source calls it the digital grimoire.
Which is such a telling choice of words, isn't it? A grimoire is a textbook of magic, a book of spells.
Right.
So by calling their central database a digital grimoire, they are already inhabiting that techno-wizard persona from the very beginning.
So it's not just functional, it's pro the brand identity itself.
It is. But functionally, it's the central nervous system of the business. You can't just randomly post about druids and mushrooms and hope it sticks. You need a system. There has to be a logic to it.
So let's break down the pages that are mentioned in the source. What's actually inside this grimoire? If I open up this Notion workspace right now, what am I looking at?
Okay, so imagine this workspace. It's not just a blank page. It's a sophisticated database that they call the grimoire. And inside, you're setting up these very specific pages or properties. The source seems to indicate it's a 3-part structure.
Okay, let's visualize it. What are the columns? What are the fields?
Right. So column A, let's call it the scientific trigger. This is where you track the hard science, the peer-reviewed stuff.
The credibility.
The credibility, exactly. You're selling a product with lion's mane mushroom.
Yeah.
You need to know about nerve growth factor, or NGF. You need to have the studies on Bacopa and memory retention bookmarked.
Yeah.
You can't fake the science if you want the biohackers to trust you. You need the PubMed links right there in the database.
Okay, so that's the biology part of the brand. That's your foundation of truth.
Correct. Then you have column B, which is the mythological overlay. This is where you store the fun stuff, the historical facts, the myths, the legends.
The stories.
The stories. The source explicitly mentions the Eleusinian mysteries. These ancient Greek initiation rituals involving a drink called kykeon.
Right, which some people speculate contained psychoactive fungi.
Exactly. And you'd have notes on that, on general root medicine history from different cultures. This creates the ancient wisdom pillar of the brand. You need a place to store all these narratives so you can weave them into the content later on.
So you have the science and you have the story, and then presumably there's a third element to kind of tie it all together.
Yes, and this is the clever part. Column C is the vibe, or the hook. You take each piece of lore and science with a specific feeling. Is this content dark? Is it hopeful? Is it aggressive and performance-oriented?
Why is that important?
Because you can't just post raw science. Raw science is boring to most people. And, Vikings are cool, but they might be irrelevant to your product.
Okay.
But if you use Notion's filters, and you search for your tags, say you filter for lion's mane plus Vikings plus aggressive, suddenly you have a content prompt generated for you.
What would that be?
Did Viking berserkers eat mushrooms to hack their nervous systems before battle?
Which is a great question. Did they?
It's debated. The source actually mentions this. Some historians say it was Amanita muscaria, the fly agaric mushroom. Others say it was just, pure adrenaline and ritual, but that's not the point.
The point is the question itself.
The point is that the Notion database generates the creativity. You aren't sitting there staring at a blank page waiting for inspiration to strike. You are querying your own custom-built database like it's a search engine for viral ideas.
I see. So you're forcing a collision between a vitamin and a Viking. You're synthesizing the content before you even write a single word.
Exactly. And that is the fundamental difference between an amateur creator and a professional brand. The amateur waits for a lightning bolt of inspiration. The professional builds a lightning rod. This Notion setup, it's the lightning rod.
I love that analogy. Okay, so you've got your internal library, your lightning rod, you're organized, you have your science and your myths all cataloged. But how do you know what the world actually wants to hear about?
Yeah, that's the next problem.
You can't just lecture people about ancient Greece if they don't care. Which brings us to tool number 2 in the stack, SemSuite.io.
This is the radar. This is your periscope. SemSuite is used here specifically for trend spotting. The biggest problem with content creation is often that blank page syndrome, or even worse, the echo chamber syndrome.
Where you just talk about what you find interesting.
Exactly. You talk about what you and your 5 friends find interesting, not what the audience is actually searching for and talking about right now.
Right. I might think the entire history of peat moss is the most fascinating thing in the world, but if nobody is searching for it, I'm basically just talking to myself in a very well-produced way.
Exactly. SemSuite, or a tool like it, allows you to see what is currently viral, what questions people are asking, what topics are gaining momentum, and crucially, where the gaps in the market are. But the source outlines a very specific strategy here that they call the flip. I absolutely love this concept.
The flip. It sounds like a judo move or something.
It kind of is. It's a mental judo move. It's a lateral thinking technique. You use the tool to find a trending topic that might seem, on the surface, totally unrelated or even mundane.
Okay, give me an example.
All right, so let's say the tool shows that bad Wi-Fi or internet connection issues is a trending topic. You see a spike in searches for it. People are complaining on social media about their Zoom calls buffering, their Netflix freezing, just the general frustration of modern tech failing.
Okay, so everyone is angry at their internet provider. I get that. How does that help a mushroom company?
That's the flip. You take that cultural context, the feeling of unreliable connection, and you flip it to nature. You make a post about how the mycelial network under the forest floor has 0 latency.
Oh.
You create a piece of content talking about nature's perfect signal. You contrast the deep frustration of the artificial web with the seamless ancient wisdom of the biological web.
That is brilliant. You're not trying to create energy from scratch. You're pivoting off the cultural energy that's already there.
Yes.
You aren't trying to start a fire from scratch. You're just diverting a little bit of the heat from the neighbor's bonfire over to your campsite.
Precisely. You aren't trying to generate momentum from a dead standstill. You're diverting a flowing river into your own canal. It's so much more efficient.
And the source mentions the specific search terms they're using in a tool like this. Mycelium network, ancient civilizations, biohacking. They're designed to intersect with these broader cultural conversations.
Exactly. They were looking for the overlap, the Venn diagram between their niche and the mainstream.
Can we talk about the mechanics of this for a second? Because I feel like a lot of people get stuck on the idea of trend spotting. They open a tool like SemSuite, and they just see a list of hashtags and keywords. How do you actually find the flip? What are you looking for?
That's a great question. You have to look for the emotion behind the trend, not just the keyword itself.
The emotion.
So if the trending topic is Zoom fatigue, the keywords are Zoom, meetings, work from home. But the emotion is exhaustion. The emotion is my eyes hurt, and I hate looking at my own face in a little box.
Extremely relatable.
Very. So you don't make a post about Zoom. That's boring and derivative. You make a post about the antidote to that exhaustion. You post about the Javanese concept of forest bathing, Shinrin-yoku.
But you don't just post about it in a generic way.
No, you frame it using the flip. You call it the original video conference. You write copy like, connect with 1,000 ancient trees at once. No mute button required.
No mute button required. That's a tagline right there. That's fantastic.
See? You just did it. You just flipped it. It's about finding that emotional pain point in the digital world and presenting the natural world as the elegant, superior solution.
Okay, I'm really starting to see how this machine works now. It's a system. We have the plan, the library in Notion, and we have the angle, the hook from SeamSuite,
The brain and the radar.
the brain and the radar. Now we move to phase two. We have to actually make the thing. We need a voice. And this is where we get into what the source calls the voice of the forest.
Scripting and audio. This is where the personality of the brand is truly forged. Because up until now, it's all just data and strategy. Now it needs to be given a soul.
And the tool here is the one everyone knows, but almost everyone is probably using incorrectly, ChatGPT.
Correct. The most powerful tool that everyone is using like a very, very blunt instrument.
Yes. And the source makes a really big point here. The common mistake, the amateur move, is just typing in, write a post about mushrooms.
Which will get you the most generic, boring, Wikipedia summary-style post imaginable.
Mushrooms are a type of fungus. They are healthy, they have antioxidants, you should eat them. It's just so boring.
It's the difference between having a raw instrument, like a violin, and having a played symphony. The output is only as good as the prompt, as the person playing it.
And the source provides a specific layered persona prompt that is just. It's perfect. It's chef's kiss.
It really is. The prompt is, act as an ancient historian who understands quantum biology.
Okay, let's pause on that. An ancient historian who understands quantum biology. That sounds, I don't know, a little pretentious. Does that actually work? If I saw that on my feed, I might just roll my eyes and scroll past.
It is pretentious.
Yeah.
But that's the entire point. You have to remember who the target audience is here. We are not selling to the average person buying a generic multivitamin at Walmart.
Right.
We are targeting the optimizer, the person in Silicon Valley who drinks specialized butter coffee and tracks their REM sleep down to the minute.
Ah, okay. The guy who wears a weighted vest to the grocery store to increase his passive caloric burn.
Exactly. That guy loves pretension. He thrives on it. He loves feeling like he's in on a secret that other people don't get. So when the AI speaks with this complex layered authority, it signals to him, this product is too smart for normal people. It's for you.
It's exclusionary marketing. It's a form of signaling. If you don't understand this clever metaphor about quantum entanglement and ancient root systems, then this supplement isn't for you. Go back to your Flintstones vitamins.
100%. And the prompt engineering here is the key. You can't just tell ChatGPT, be smart. You have to give it very specific constraints. The source mentions using something called a perplexity constraint.
Oh, what? I've heard of perplexity as a metric for how, surprised a model is by a sequence of words. But how do you use that as part of a prompt?
A perplexity constraint is when you essentially tell the AI, use sentence structures that vary wildly in length and complexity. Do not use common, predictable AI transition words.
What are those?
Yeah.
Like furthermore.
Furthermore, in conclusion, moreover, it is important to note that, all the phrases that scream, I am a robot writing a 5-paragraph essay.
Right, so you're explicitly telling the robot to stop sounding like a robot.
You're telling the robot to sound like a passionate, slightly eccentric human who is thinking. Humans don't write in perfect, uniform paragraphs. We write in bursts, short sentence, then a long, winding, complex sentence that goes on for a while and has a few clauses, then maybe a one-word sentence, a joke. That's burstiness. You have to explicitly command ChatGPT to mimic that human rhythm.
So the full prompt is something like, act as an ancient historian who understands quantum biology. Write a 60-second script comparing a server farm to a forest root system. Use very high perplexity and high burstiness in your sentence structure.
And the final piece. Explain how nootropics help the human brain access this dialogical land.
See, that's where the magic is. It's the combination of all those layers. If you just ask for a historian, you get a dry lecture in 1492.
Right, and if you just ask for a biologist, you get a jargon-filled explanation of cellular structures.
But when you force them to merge, you get this completely unique brand voice that sounds authoritative and credible, yet also mystical and profound. It sounds like synapse roots.
It connects the dots for the audience in a way they've never heard before. It's creating a new metaphor. And that metaphor, the biological land, is what sticks in the listener's mind long after the video is over.
Okay, so ChatGPT spits out this incredible script. It's poetic, it's scientific, it's deep, it's got that burstiness. Now you could just, read it into your iPhone voice memos.
But that completely breaks the immersion. It
Yeah.
shatters the spell. If you have this profound script about ancient druidic wisdom and quantum computing, and it's read by a guy in an echoey bedroom with a nasally voice,
The spell is broken.
the whole thing falls apart. The aesthetic requires gravitas. It needs weight.
Enter tool number 4 in the stack, 11 Labs.
Voice cloning technology. This is absolutely crucial for achieving that cyber nature feel.
Yeah.
The source suggests creating a very specific voice archetype.
What's the archetype?
Deep, raspy, slightly British, like a modern-day wizard.
Like a Gandalf who codes?
Precisely. A Gandalf who knows Python and understands blockchain.
So we have this script. It's written by our quantum historian AI persona. Now we need it spoken by our wizard AI persona. We're using 11 Labs. But here's my question.
Okay.
11 Labs is everywhere now. I hear those generic stock AI voices on TikTok and YouTube Shorts all day. The Adam voice,
Yeah.
the Bella voice. Doesn't that cheapen the brand? If I hear the same voice selling me mushrooms that tried to sell me a drop-shipped Galaxy projector last week, I'm out. It loses all credibility.
It absolutely does. If you use the defaults, this is where the source material gets really technical and why this deep dive is so important. They don't just say use 11 Labs. They talk about manipulating the stability and similarity sliders in the voice lab.
Okay, walk us through that. What do those sliders do? What happens if I crank the stability slider all the way up to 100%?
If stability is at 100%, the AI-generated voice is perfectly consistent. It never wavers in its tone or inflection. It sounds like a traditional news anchor. It sounds robotic. It hits every single syllable with the exact same emphasis.
Which is the exact opposite of what we want for a wise ancient druid.
Right. A druid is sitting in a cave, maybe.
Yeah.
He's been breathing in some smoke from the fire. He's emotional. He's trying to warn you about the future. You need to drag that stability slider down. Way down, like to 30% or even 25%.
That low. That feels risky. Wouldn't it just sound broken?
Yeah, you'd think so. But what happens at 30% is the AI starts to introduce artifacts, little cracks in the voice, unplanned pauses, a bit of breathiness. It starts to make mistakes, essentially. But those mistakes sound human. It sounds like the speaker is actually thinking about the next word, not just reading a script. It's the sound of contemplation.
That is such a cool insight. You are intentionally introducing error into the system in order to create authenticity.
It's the wabi-sabi of audio engineering. The Japanese aesthetic principle. Perfect is fake. Flawed is real. And for a brand that is all about nature, which is inherently chaotic and organic and imperfect, you need that audio chaos. It has to feel real.
It sets the mood instantly. The second you hear that deep, rich, slightly cracked voice say, trees were the first routers, you lean in.
You do.
You trust it. It sounds expensive. It sounds like a BBC documentary, not a TikTok ad.
And that authority is absolutely key when you're selling something like supplements. Trust is the only currency that matters. If the production value sounds high-end and authoritative, the consumer unconsciously assumes the product itself is high-end and authoritative. It's a psychological transfer of value.
So we have the brain, we have the script, and now we have the voice. But we live in a visual world. We need to see it. This brings us to phase 3 of the stack, visual alchemy.
Video production. And this is often the biggest bottleneck for creators. Video is hard. It takes a ton of time. You have to scrub through hours of footage. But the stack has a solution for 2 different common scenarios.
Okay, let's take scenario A. You have a long video, maybe you did an hour-long interview with a mycologist, or you found a great lecture in the public domain. You have 60 minutes of footage. How do you find the gold in that without watching it for 3 hours and taking notes?
You use tool number 5, Opus Clip.
Opus Clip. I've seen this in action. It's pretty wild. It's basically an AI video editor in a box. But explain the mechanics. How does it know what's good? How does it find the hooks?
It's a repurposing engine. You feed it the long-form video, and the AI transcribes the whole thing and analyzes the transcript and the visual changes. It then assigns a virality score to different 1-minute segments based on pacing, the use of keywords, emotional sentiment in the speaker's voice, and topic changes. It's specifically looking for the hooks.
And the source gives a really specific, great example of a hook. It's the moment where an expert might say, trees actually share nutrients via a subscription service.
Which is just a hilarious and brilliant analogy.
It is. And Opus Clip would identify that sentence as a high-potential clip. It would automatically slice out that 60-second segment, add dynamic captions, and reframe it for a vertical video format like Reels or TikTok.
And let's just pause on that analogy for a second. The subscription service. Why does that work so well? Why would a tool like Opus Clip flag that as a viral moment?
I assume because it uses a word we all understand from our daily lives, subscription, in a completely weird and unexpected context.
Exactly. It translates immense biological complexity into simple, modern economic terms. We all understand subscription services. We know what it means to pay a monthly fee for access to something. By framing the symbiotic fungal network that way, you make the science instantly relatable and memorable to a modern audience. Opus Clip is designed to find those moments of brilliant translation.
It's basically looking for metaphors. It's a metaphor detector.
It's looking for aha moments, the little sparks where a complex idea suddenly clicks for the viewer, and it does that in minutes. Whereas a human editor would take a whole day to watch the footage, log the timestamps, and make those creative decisions.
Okay, so that's if you have long-form content to work with. But what if you're starting from absolute zero? You're just sitting in your room, you have the ChatGPT script, you have the 11 Labs voiceover, but you have no camera and no one to interview, you just have a laptop.
Then you turn to tool number 6, CapCut. But specifically, the source talks about using CapCut for vibe editing.
Vibe editing, I like that term. It's not just about cutting clips together, it's about manufacturing a specific feeling.
This is where we return to that core cybernature aesthetic we talked about at the very beginning. You are building this content entirely from high-quality stock footage. You're going to a stock footage site and finding clips of fiber optic cables glowing in the dark. You're finding cinematic time lapses of seeds sprouting and roots growing. And you're using CapCut to blend them together.
Okay, describe the technique here, because blending can mean a lot of things. Are we just doing a hard cut from a tree to a computer cable?
No, that's too jarring. It's not sophisticated enough. The source talks about using overlay modes and cross dissolves to seamlessly merge the visuals.
Okay, time for a little technical deep dive. For someone who doesn't know, what is an overlay mode in video editing?
So in a program like CapCut, you can stack 2 video clips on top of each other in a timeline. If you set the top video's blending mode to screen or overlay, the software essentially makes the black or dark parts of that top image transparent and just leaves the light parts visible.
So, if you have a video of that green matrix computer code on a solid black background and you overlay that on top of a video of a forest floor,
The black background disappears, and the green code looks like it's floating in the air between the trees.
the code rains down on the moss.
Exactly. It visually fuses the 2 separate concepts into one cohesive image. You're literally, visually, layering the digital world onto the natural world.
That is visual alchemy. It really is. You're taking these raw, separate, unrelated ingredients, a stock clip from here, a voiceover from there, a script written by an AI, and you are fusing them into a single cohesive story.
And the user scrolling past doesn't see stock footage. They see Synapse roots. They see the brand's world.
And of course, CapCut allows you to add those dynamic, popping captions that are essential for keeping retention high on these platforms. But again, you have to style them correctly.
Right. You don't use the default, bubbly, colorful font. You choose a font that looks like a terminal command prompt or a classic old-school typewriter font. Everything has to serve the aesthetic.
Consistency is everything.
If every single video has that same green code over forest look, that same deep, raspy British voice, and that same mind-bending mix of history and biology, you start to own a specific slot in the viewer's brain. You're building memory structures. They know what to expect from you.
Okay, so the content is made. It looks amazing. It sounds amazing. It's highly intelligent. But here is the trap that so many creators fall into. You can't sit there on your phone hitting publish every 2 hours. You have a business to run.
Right.
Or if you're really living the brand lifestyle, you're supposed to be out in the woods foraging for mushrooms, not glued to your phone screen waiting for the optimal posting time.
Right. You can't be a slave to the algorithm if your entire brand message is about liberation from the machine.
Yeah.
That'd be a massive contradiction. It would be hypocritical.
Buy our product to escape technology sold to you by a guy who hasn't slept in 3 days because he's obsessively refreshing his Instagram analytics.
Exactly. The audience can smell that desperation a mile away.
So we need the final phase, phase 4, spore distribution.
And the final tool, tool number 7, later.
Later is a scheduling tool. Most people in marketing know what it is, but the source frames it so beautifully with the metaphor of spreading the spores.
It's the final step of the biological cycle, isn't it? The mushroom grows and matures. That's the creation process. And then, at the right moment, it releases its spores into the wind to reproduce. That's distribution. Later allows you to automate this release.
But it's not just about set it and forget it, is it? The source outlines a very specific time-based strategy that I think is absolute genius. It's based on the user's circadian rhythm.
Yes, this part blew my mind. Let's look at the schedule, because it's not random at all. They match the content theme to the user's biological and psychological state throughout the day.
It's so smart.
It makes total sense when you see it. Let's start with the morning slot. They call this the wake-up protocol.
So this is when people are groggy. It's 7:00 a.m., 8:00 a.m. They're reaching for coffee. They want to be productive. Their cortisol levels are spiking. They're thinking about their to-do list.
Exactly. So what content do you serve them? You serve them content about focus, about performance, nootropic hacks, how to wake up your brain without the caffeine jitters, why lion's mane is better than your third cup of espresso. You are solving the immediate biological problem the user is having at that exact moment.
You aren't talking about philosophy at 7 a.m. You're talking about utility.
No one wants philosophy at 7 a.m. You're giving them a practical tool.
So smart. You catch them right when they are desperate for energy and focus. And then what about the evening slot?
The evening slot is called the Dreamtime Connection. It's 8:00 p.m., 9:00 p.m. People are winding down. They're on the couch, doom scrolling, maybe feeling a bit anxious about the day or just bored. Their melatonin is starting to rise. They do not want productivity tips now.
God, no, if you tell them to hustle at 9 p.m., they'll hate you and unfollow you.
They'll block you. They want stories. They want to escape. They want to learn something cool.
This is where you drop the lore.
Exactly. The ancient history. The mythology. Did you know the ancient Greeks drank this before dreaming? The mythology of the world tree, Yggdrasil. You're giving them something fascinating but low stress to mull over as they drift off to sleep. It's essentially bedtime stories for biohacking adults.
And then the weekend. The Saturday and Sunday slots.
That's the deep dive. Weekends are for leisure, for hobbies, for deeper learning. That's when you drop the big theoretical content, the grand global tree land theories, the really philosophical mind-bending stuff.
Why then? What's the logic?
Because people have the mental bandwidth on a Saturday morning to sit with a cup of coffee and think about whether or not trees have consciousness. They do not have that bandwidth on a Tuesday afternoon when their boss is yelling at them in a Slack message.
It's psychological segmentation based on the time of day and the day of the week.
It is. And it maximizes the impact of every single piece of content you create. You are hitting the right nerve at precisely the right time.
And because you're using a tool like Later to schedule all of this, you, the creator, aren't actually there pushing the buttons. You did all the work on Monday, you batched it, and now the system is deploying it for you while you're, I don't know, actually hugging a tree.
Or analyzing your P&L statement. Or formulating a new product. Or just living your life.
Yeah.
But yes, the point is that the automation allows the human to remain human, while the bot handles the repetitive mechanical tasks.
So let's just step back for a second. We've gone through the 7 tools. We have SimSuite to find the trend, Notion to organize the lore and science, ChatGPT to write the script in a unique voice,
11 Labs to narrate it with that wizard voice.
Opus Clip and CapCut to create the visuals, the alchemy, and finally, Later to distribute it all on a psychologically timed schedule.
It's a complete end-to-end ecosystem. It's a content factory.
It really is. And if you think about it, what we've just described is a modern media company. A decade ago, this entire workflow would have required a staff of at least 10 people.
Oh, easily. A researcher, a writer, a voice actor, a sound engineer, a video editor, a graphic designer, a social media manager.
And a budget of hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to pay for all of them.
For sure.
And now, it's a subscription software stack that costs maybe, what, a few $100 a month?
If that. Maybe $150 if you're smart about the tiers you choose and you pay annually.
That is an insane level of democratization. The barrier to entry for creating a high-end, sophisticated media brand has just collapsed.
It has. But it also raises the bar for everyone. Because if everyone has access to these powerful tools, then the tools themselves aren't the competitive advantage anymore.
Right. That's a really good point. If I can clone a wizard voice in 30 seconds, so can you. If I can generate a cool green code over a forest video, so can you. So what's the actual competitive advantage? What makes one brand win and another fail?
The advantage is the idea. The advantage is the Synapse Roots concept itself. It's the quality of the thinking. It's the ability to connect the dots between the mycelial network and the internet in the first place. The tools are just the paintbrush. You still need to be the artist.
That's a really important distinction. The AI can't invent the Wood Wide Web. concept for you. Not yet, anyway. It can execute it flawlessly, but it can't dream it up from nothing.
Exactly. The human element in this new creator economy moves from laborious production to high-level curation and strategic thinking. Your value is in your taste and your ability to synthesize ideas.
But I want to circle back to that core concept of synapse roots because the tools are incredibly cool, but the idea is what makes this whole thing so sticky. This idea that the internet isn't new, it's just nature digitized.
It's a profoundly powerful narrative because it comforts us. I mean, look at the world we're living in. We are going through a period of rapid, frankly terrifying technological change. AI, automation, the metaverse. It's overwhelming. It feels alien.
It feels like we are losing our humanity, like we're being replaced.
Yes. But by framing these new technologies as just reflections of ancient natural patterns, by saying the server farm is just a messy man-made root system, or the AI is just a new form of collective consciousness, we make the scary future feel familiar. We make it feel natural.
It's domesticating the technology. It's taming the beast by showing how it's related to the animals we already know.
Exactly. And the brand promise of Synapse Roots becomes, you are feeling overwhelmed and anxious because of this new digital network. Here, take this product derived from the biological network, the nootropic, to help you adapt and thrive. It positions the product as the essential bridge between the two worlds.
It's brilliant marketing, but it also speaks to a deeper truth, doesn't it? It's not just a clever lie. Biomimicry is a real field of engineering. We do design our best technologies based on nature.
Oh, absolutely. The neural networks in AI are explicitly modeled after the structure of the human brain. The way the internet routes traffic packets is mathematically similar to how slime molds search for food.
Wait, back up. Slime molds.
Yeah. I love this study. There was this famous experiment, I think it was Japanese researchers, where they placed oat flakes on a petri dish, arranged like a map of Tokyo and its surrounding cities.
Okay.
And they released a slime mold at the Tokyo flake. The slime mold grew out to connect all the food sources, and the network it created was almost identical in its efficiency and structure to the actual Tokyo railway system.
That is wild. So the single-celled organism figured out the most efficient transportation route, the same one that teams of human engineers spent decades designing.
Or, to put it another way, the human engineers eventually figured out the hyper-efficient route that the slime mold had already perfected millions of years ago through evolution. We aren't really inventing brand new systems. We are just slowly, clumsily rediscovering the systems that biology has been using for eons and replicating them in silicon.
Which brings us to the beautiful irony at the very heart of this whole deep dive today.
The great irony.
We are using the most advanced, synthetic, unnatural tools ever created. Generative AI, voice cloning, algorithmic targeting, to sell a return to roots, to dirt, to ancient, natural simplicity.
It is a paradox, a massive one.
So is it hypocritical? Is it just a lie?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think it's a closing of the loop.
How so? What do you mean by that?
Well, for a long time, our technology pushed us away from nature. The Industrial Revolution, the concrete cities, the glowing screens. We felt separated, isolated from the natural world.
Right.
But now our technology is becoming so advanced, so complex, and so interconnected that it is starting to behave like a natural system again. It's becoming organic in its complexity. An AI model is more like a garden you tend to than a machine you build.
So we're not building technology to escape nature anymore.
No. I think we might finally be building technology that is advanced enough to help us understand how nature has worked all along. The digital shaman isn't a hypocrite. They're just a storyteller, using the newest tools available to tell the oldest story there is.
The newest tools to tell the oldest story. I love that. And I think that is the perfect place to leave it. Whether you're out there building a brand or just trying to understand the strange world we live in, maybe just remember, the roots go deep.
Deeper than the fiber optics, for sure.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you next time.
Stay connected.
To the Wood Wide Web. Bye, everyone.